Welcome to the Business Awareness Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C, here at Media Stations in Bohemia, New York.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Awareness Hour with Norman, the Music Man, and the lovely Linda Rodino.
Linda? Now I'm
Linda.
Linda.
What are you now? What is your name? Oh, it's Lisa. Okay.
Lisa.
I'm also.
That's not the first time, though.
I am so tired today. It's like I've been out since so early. So that. What are you laughing at? You're the guest. Don't laugh at us.
That was funny. That was good. That's a good intro.
Where do you see what we call
Hey,
you?
I'm Tony. So would they.
All right. So what's up with you? Where are you traveling this week?
Oh, traveling right at home in my office, trying to put out fires.
Yeah,
That's
you
all
had
this
some
week.
fire this week.
Yes, I did. I have a gentleman in my household that is in the IT security assurance setting, and somehow some virus got in and I got hacked. So we got control of it, but yesterday was shot.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that everything's back. I got to mention this. Because you've been a guest even before you became a co-host a bunch of times on the Business Power Hour. Well,
Back then, yes.
back in the day.
Yes.
We have had all kinds of guests, when it started with Darren and then it became you. We've had guests in every kind of discipline, every kind of profession that you could possibly ever come across. All right, you just don't fall into certain people. Tonight, we fell in head first to having a really, really exciting guy who's got his own universe. He has created his own universe. So we're going to welcome into our little universe. He's got the big universe, but we got a little universe. And we're going to welcome Tom. I hope I say it right because I don't say it right with Darcy either. Vinaglio?
Almost. Fenolio.
Yeah,
we've been called worse.
Easy
So
for
the
you
G
to
is
go
silent.
say.
Fenolio.
Venom Comic. Thank you.
And Piccolino Italiano, huh?
Yeah. So no, G silent, Fenolio, and Joe's my brother, and I'm Tom, and we are Phenom Comics. So yeah.
You are. That's
and no Tonys.
No Tony. I just
No
saw
Tonys.
So I figured I'd throw in the Tony just to throw him off.
Yeah,
Well, we have
definitely.
to do that. We were going to talk about him anyway because not only do you do the comics, but you have a real business. Right?
Yeah,
Tell us what you really do with your brother.
Yeah, Joe and I are engineers by trade. Joe's mechanical, I'm electrical. And we just, kind of throughout our whole life, our father had a tool and die shop. And so we were just always in the manufacturing realm. So as we got older, we just sort of, as every young professional does, find their way through the haze and the business opportunities. And then Joe and I got into medical device manufacturing. So that kind of took us into where we are today. And, we're very proud of the company. We have the people that, surround us, the companies that surround us. And then sort of with COVID during that realm, it kind of allowed us to kind of go back and kind of open up a little pocket of free time that we were able to kind of go back and explore some stories that we had. Because Joe and I, back in our 20s, we were always writing. We always had screenplays. We were out in California, and there were just a lot of material there left undone.
What
So
kind
that
of
was great.
screenplays were you writing?
We were just basically every story that you're going to see out of Phenom Comics. So we had gone out there once. We were with Warner Brothers, Donner and Donner Schuler. I remember it well because about 2 years later, Darcy, my wife and I were in the theater watching a very similar story to what my brother and I had. So at that point, it was a great learning experience. I really have no anger or no regret because it was a turning point for me and my brother where we just said, let's take our time, let's hone in the stories, but let's go back to Hollywood when we can protect our IP a little better. So that's why it's taken, 20 years later, we finally kind of came back and we're producing the stories we had back then, but we're just a little, wiser. Wisdom doesn't come cheap, and with age, you kind of get a little, craftier. So the books that you will see from Phenom Comics are really just a protection around the IP that we created. So those are the vehicles because we are really film guys. We're not comic guys. That's why we brought in the top-notch quality of artists and writers. We brought Chuck Dixon, who invented Bane from DC. He's notorious for Batman. He's a New York best-selling author. We bring in you name it, but that's why we did. Since we didn't know the comic industry, we brought in the people that could teach.
How did you get these guys? How did you find them? How'd you get them? Or did they find you?
A lot of research, and a lot of young artists ask us that. And number one, I hate to say it, but money does talk. Where you're able to pay people at the DC and Marvel rates, people take you a little more serious. And we had met up with a phenomenal inker, Rob Hunter. He inked for 20, 30 years at DC, and he was loved by everybody in the industry. He's just a stand-up person and very well respected. So we had loved his work. He's just a very gritty inker. And we met him. Joe and I flew down to Tampa. We had a great meeting with him. We kind of told him what our aspirations were, and he jumped right in. So once he started seeing the material, Rob's been at this. He can tell a good story from not. And
let me ask you a question, Tom. What is his specialty? Is he a writer? Is he a graphic designer? What is it?
You know what? This is interesting because we learned too. So you've got the writers. So Joe and I come up with the story. So a lot of our stories are really built off of screenplays like you would for a movie. But for a comic book, it's a whole different dynamic. There's paneling, there's tone, there's pacing, there's timing. It's very intricate, a little more than you would think. And so you've got your writer, and then you've got your penciler who works directly with the author. So the author writes it, and the penciler then takes those and then puts them in the little panels that you see on the comic book pages. Then the inker will take those, sort of roughly drawn images, beautiful, don't get me wrong, but he kind of takes the ink and he makes it black. He inks it, obviously, but he takes all the maybe idiosyncrasies out of it, all the missteps, and there's your, final, I guess, image. Then a colorist comes in and they lay the colors on the inks. Then you've got a letterer that takes the words from the script and plops it on the colors. And that's not to mention like the editors and blah, blah, blah. So when it's all said and done, you've got every page is being touched by 6 or 7 people. So we didn't know that either. We thought, hey, you just give it to somebody and they turn your story into a comic book. But Rob was there really to kind of show us the ropes. And he brought in, especially for the book that we can talk about, is Hunter Ninja Bear. Our first release was, you have Mel Ruby, who was huge into Dynamite. He did Game of Thrones. You had Ivan Nunes, who was literally, I think, the second or third best colorist out there. You had Taylor Esposito, the letterer, that is highly acclaimed. And then you have Chuck Dixon, who, like I said, was a New York best-selling author. So for our first go-around, we really brought in the dream team. And for the people that do know comics, we have, Scott McDaniels, we've got the Bart Sears, the Alex Sinclairs. These names mean something to people. And we just knew that since Joe and I were nobodies, we're just nobodies in a big ocean, we better bring people with the credentials and the reputation, because that was the only way that we were going to make a splash. So that was our game plan.
I remember back in the day, because I'm kind of older than yourself, I used to look forward to getting the newspaper every day and read the comics. And then Superman, and then the Green Lantern and Arrow and all these kind of things were all part of my... What was your first comic that you've read?
We, growing up, I was, in the 70s, where I remember like it was yesterday, my mom would go grocery shopping and Joe and I would sit there by the grocery, the magazine rack,
right,
and we would go through the comics that we weren't allowed to, we just, everybody had so much budgeted for their weekly groceries. My parents didn't have the, just
the extra money.
And I think everybody can relate. But for those 5 minutes, you became a very good reader. Then you became a great with your imagination. You could then recall last time, because the next week when your mom went grocery shopping, then you could, find the same comic and go from there. And but it was always Iron Man from the Marvel side, and then we've got time delay, and then it was Batman. And Batman was really from the TV series, obviously, but Batman for me, I can't really speak for Joe, but Batman personally was always the driving force.
Do you have any vintage in your comics in your collection?
once again, we were almost, just our entire life, we were pretty careful with where we spent money. And I would always rather put my $2 towards a beer than a comic
Oh,
book. Yeah.
so
And
you picked up what was at the library and
yeah,
ready for
no,
you over there.
we always had it. Just a lot of our buddies had it,
Yeah.
or had books, but we just always found them. Really Star Wars. I'd say probably the biggest catalog that I do have is Batman, obviously, and Star Wars. Because back in the day, Stan Lee and Marvel weren't doing too well. They were actually near bankruptcy. So George Lucas struck a deal with them because Stan Lee goes, "What's Star Wars? We don't know that." So very fortunately, a buddy of Stan Lee's knew George Lucas, and George Lucas gave him the rights. And he said, "Hey, put Star Wars in Marvel, and you can have all the rights from here on out." And that's why Marvel is Marvel today, is because George Lucas was very great businessman, but Stan Lee was very fortunate to team up with the greatest story on earth. But Star Wars easily. I've got a lot of the original runs of Star Wars.
Do
Nice.
any of you?
So
Go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to ask, where do you have your products, your books and everything and your comics? Where can we find those?
Yeah, originally Joe and I utilized the crowdfunding, where it was Kickstarter, Indiegogo, but we already produce our books. So it wasn't really for funding of the manufacturing of the books, it's really for advertising. So our first wave that people could find them was through that. But now Amazon, Apple, we just did a signing with Barbara Bookstores in Illinois. But once Star Writers comes out, which will be our second book, we are going to be working with Borders, and we'll be in the Border bookstores. But every comic book store, if it's not there, please ask them, because we are distributed by Diamond Comics, and they're the
Nice.
largest distributor of comics. And we should be in every comic book store. But realistically, the stores are, they're trying to make money, so they're purchasing a pretty large graphic novel from us is pretty risky. So the more people that go out there and say, "Hey, we want Hunter Ninja Bear," the better. But trade shows and comic cons, we've done extremely well.
Nice.
And
It's also
we've sold
very
thousands.
very
we've
far and
sold-
few between are there comic stores. It's not like back in the day. I mean, almost every other corner or a candy store or whatever always had comic books. They had racks and racks of comic
Yeah.
books. You don't see that much anymore.
No, and it's sad. And for the bookstores, where the shipping, the little things on the the little things that people don't think about, overhead, where you've got employees, you got their salaries, but you got shipping, you've got how much are they going to make off each book. But and even DC and Marvel have kind of gone into a slide, I would say, as far as they're trying to branch out. They're sort of trying to change things up, where it's kind of causing a rift within the comics industry. So I think a lot of the comic people that love going in there are just sort of content with really reading some of the old classics until DC and Marvel sort of figure out their direction for their next universes and their next storylines. So it's kind of a weird time.
So do your comics and everything with the videos and everything, do you have any bands that are following you or giving you music for what you're doing?
I can't say. Our third book out is Something Fierce, and we actually had trademarked Soul. We did this, and then Disney came in with their Soul, and that was kind of a big deal. But it's back to the original Something Fierce, and we do have a band, but I will not say who they are, because we've been working with them for it's been going on maybe 5 years, and it's a great little band. And
I'm the music man. You can tell me.
Oh no, I don't want to
Not
tell anybody,
now.
because I think it's a little gem that once people hear their music, I think it's one of those little bands that just kind of never kind of made it. So what we were doing is, and I had told Norma this way back when, was that that story of Something Fierce was originally supposed to be a musical, and it was built off of this entire soundtrack. So it's very interesting us putting it into a comics, because what our goal is to put it into film and back into a musical. So Joe and I are just definitely music nuts. I think everybody in the world is, but we even had our own band,
Oh.
Joe and I,
So what'd you
definitely,
play?
I was awful. I was awful. I played the drums and bass, but I
We didn't
was
ask
awful.
how good you were. We wanted to know.
No, I
No,
wanted
I'm
the
saying,
instrument.
oh no, I was bad. And then Joe though is very, and my one cousin came in too, and they were both great at their guitars. They're
Okay.
phenomenal. So Joe just picked up a guitar and away he went. And I still remember my sister. They were, because we made about 20 songs. We really kind of tried, just to make it. Just it was fun, but we were taking it serious. And so my sister was listening to our first demo, and she's like, "Who's that on the drums?" That's me. Who's that on the bass? That's me. Who's that singing in the background? That's me. So I knew when to hang it up.
Sisters have a way of that, don't they?
Well, honesty hurts, but but I definitely appreciate it. So, after that, I went back into writing.
Tom, when
Okay.
did the first Superman comic come out? Would you know?
Oh, I don't know. I was never even a big Superman fan.
Okay, well,
Because
after Superman, um, when did Superwoman come out? How far after was it in the 50s or 60s?
I don't normally just and I'll go back is Joe and I were not comic guys. We were huge film guys.
Oh,
If you
wait,
ask
I'm
me,
going to get into that. I was leading up
yeah,
to something like that.
okay,
There is,
yeah,
it's gotten to the point now, there are so many women in superheroes. And now
oh
they have
yeah,
the new Marvel movie that's out.
Yeah.
What, sorry?
Yeah,
yeah,
they're all
Marvel,
doing it.
And
yeah.
there's three women of different ethnic backgrounds and whatever, and they're saving
Yeah.
the world, which is great.
Yeah, no, and I think everybody is trying. I think that's neat. I think the NFL, they love when Taylor Swift is in the press box. That it brings a different audience,
You
and
think?
I think that's what the DC and Marvel are trying to do. And the problem with that is that I don't think that they're giving them the greatest storylines or the greatest stories. Even like let's say Ghostbusters, when you basically change the entire movie, but you just put women into the
Right.
the roles. It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't serve any. It doesn't serve any good because the actresses aren't given great material, and then when it doesn't do well, then it's just sort of it's just we told you so. I think Wonder Woman was fantastic for DC. I thought every movie that they've done for the Wonder Woman character was out of this world. Ms. Marvel, I'd say nah, but that's personal preference. But Joe and I aren't. How can I say it? We do not look at um, identities, I guess, let's put it that way, is when we're talking characters and we're writing, we're just filling in roles. We're not saying, hey, we need this, we need that, we need this. We're really just kind of thinking of stories. And as far as like, let's say women superheroes growing up, the strongest people in our lives and our family were women. So we didn't need Wonder Woman. Like we really didn't need superheroes to telling us the importance and the power that women bring to the mix. Because in our life, that's all we knew. We needed Superman just so they could tell mom to kind of give us a break.
How do you get your ideas?
You had a
Yeah.
power mom, huh?
How do you
Yeah,
get your,
no, definitely.
Mhm.
So I think it's neat that what they're doing, but from a creator, I guess, and that's where I really have a hard time watching any new material because you don't want to sink into your
Right.
subconscious and it comes out somewhere. And I think outside of Wonder Woman, and I'll even go with some of the Spider-Mans or even some of the later Thors. It's just there's so much great material out there that now that Joe and I got in and we're talking to all these people in the trade shows or the conventions, is you realize that everyone is telling these dynamic stories, and they're saying, "Boy, if they did this, if they did this." And then you become one of these comic guys and you say, God, they should have come up with this story, but I never really read it, but I've heard it from 20 people telling me how great this Wonder Woman plot was. So I don't mean to be a comic snob, but
No,
it's interesting hearing the fans. That's all.
do you
right.
go to
And
do you go to Comic-Con?
Oh, boy. And, Darcy, so Doris, Joe, even our sons help out, but we've gone to every Comic-Con out there and it's amazing.
Do you
We have
get
done so
ideas?
well.
Do you get ideas for, in other words, how do you get your ideas? Who came up with the first idea and what was it?
That's, you go back to that grocery store. Yeah, Joe and I, we were just little kids telling stories, our entire life,
that's awesome.
even now with when my two sons were young, every night I'd go up there and tell stories. Then Joe and I were working, we're trying to get some parts out. It's 3 a.m. and the music's not going anywhere, and we say, boy, what about this idea? Joe and I are just always thinking. So it's nothing planned. It's very organic, but it's very sincere. It's because we're huge John Ford Western fans, where it's got your typical John Wayne. We're the big Kurosawa Japanese classics, the big sword fights. We're huge Godzilla fans. We're huge Jaws fans. So what we did with a lot of our movies, Star Wars, is we said, well, what if this? We sort of took everything that we liked and just crammed it in there and said, this might work. And with Hunter Ninja Bear, we saw some kids playing Hunter Ninja Bear, just like rock, paper, scissors. So we said, what a great vehicle to combine a Western, a Japanese classic, and a monster movie all in a rule set that everybody can get. Rock, paper, scissors, Hunter beats Bear, Bear beats Ninja, Ninja beats Hunter. Or Ninja, yeah, I get confused. But, and so that's where all of our stories come from. We are not professional writers. We do not have formulas. I don't like formulas. I don't like movies that you can predict that Rocky needs a pick-me-up from Adrian. Those are very, predictable. So what we are trying to do to the best of our ability is make stories that will surprise people, I guess, in a good way.
Nice.
What is unique? Is there something that's unique in your graphic, your artwork, that kind of like stands out?
I think everybody that's come to the Comic-Con, the one thing that they say is the story's phenomenal. Obviously, you've got Chuck Dixon coming in and just laying down the golden hammer. But our artwork is that a lot of the artists are really run through the meat grinder with the bigger companies because they got to get the product out. They've got a month. They got to get it rolling. So there's not really time to wait. There's really not time to sit there and really expand on your artistic prowess, I guess.
But your artwork is great. We're going to,
and that's what we did.
Everyone's going to get to see. Everyone's going to get to see your stuff. All right.
Thank you. And that's
very, very soon. So if anybody is out there, just don't go away. You better hang in because the next half of the show is really where all the action's going to take place. But in the meanwhile, how do people get in touch with you, Tom?
Well, you can, really, I think everyone asks us that, and we are the worst marketing company in the world. But I think if you go to ampersand Phenom Comics somewhere, if you go to pound Phenom Comics somewhere, you go to phenomcomics.com somewhere, you will find us. We are Phenom Comics, and you can see on my shirt.
How do you spell Phenom? Is that with an F?
Yeah, so it's kind of a play on Joe and I's last name is that we thought Phenom, phenomenal, where it's Fenolio. So we just thought it was a neat little...
Do you want to give out your phone number if people want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, probably the best way is go to www.phenomcomics.com. You can see that we do have a number. We do have email addresses. But I think the best way is see us on our website or Instagram. We have a really a tremendous following. Not tremendous. That's kind of overstating. We got 5 people.
It's 5 more than I got.
No, but Instagram is great because you got all these artists, you got all the artistic influences kind of coming in, and it's a neat little environment, a little great community. Twitter, we're okay. YouTube, Vimeo, we're okay, but Instagram's sort of where we're making our mark.
What was your first release?
Hunter Ninja Bear in part 2, which you can see right behind me, and which you'll probably see some footage. But that was the first, and we've done extremely well. And right now we're working and kind of bringing it into limited run series on the streaming services. We were always looking for film, but we started bringing in these professional screenwriters, and they just kept saying, this is not film or designed for film, because with a film, you really need that hero's path. So you need that path to kind of go weave through the story about 80% of the time. And with this story, with the 3, I guess, entities, the Hunter Ninja Bear, you're sort of 33 and some change. And it really didn't lend itself to a film. So what we're doing is for the series, the streaming services, it's perfect because it's broken down by chapters. It's broken down by character sagas and paths and hero journeys. So I think that's where you will definitely eventually see us. I thought we were always coming into comics with our end goal being film. So,
Well, the more you're out there, the more people are going to see it. the closer you'll be to getting someone to bite for the film piece.
No, you're right. And no, you're absolutely right. And with, I guess, going back to the artist, is that we told the artist, if this is going to be your swan song, your Mona Lisa, we need Hunter Ninja Bear. We don't have Batman. We need a Batman. We need that catalog of the greatest stories ever on Earth. And that means art too. So Mel Ruby with Hunter Ninja Bear, the first, and then we have Scott McDaniel on Star Writers on the next one. We said, just take all the time in the world. Just make it your best. We want every panel to be the best. We want backgrounds. We want dynamic action. And I think that everybody that's read a comic in the last 8 years, let's say, will really, really appreciate what we've done, because we've gone old school. We brought in a lot of old school talent, and we have kind of made comics that, if you go back 15, 20 years ago, that were the norm. And just with timelines and with the demand and just cost, I understand what DC and Marvel are doing, and I completely agree with them. But for us, we are not on a timeline. No one's waiting. No one's knocking on the door and saying, where's your book at? We just want to make that book that when they see it, they love it.
So when you put your team together, and let's see if I can phrase this right. I'm not asking what you're paying them. Do you make them part of a team? Let's say if the Hunter Ninja Bear, all right, if that really took off, do they get piece of the action? In other words, can they go out and solicit funding for you? And they must know an awful lot of people in the industry, as investment-wise.
Maybe not in the film that much. You know, they're really centered around the comic world. But with Joe and I guess to understand how we operate is that we're always a team. You know, that's just how we've run every business. And so if we succeed, the whole team succeeds. So with this, even with volume, because Hunter Ninja Bear, let's use that as an example, it is a 3-volume series. So if it ever takes off, we're bringing back the same crew, the same core for each volume. And if it goes on to a film, we will bring in the same group as references, as art, you know, and whatnot. Everybody will succeed because of all the hard work they put in. But
so the royalties will have
percentages.
Yeah, probably on paper, the only one that we ever really signed an agreement with were the writers. You know, where you've got Chuck Dixon, you've got Scott McDaniel, just because they're working really more in tune with Joe and I. You know, it's our stories, it's creative. We're going back and forth. We're trying to make this the best. You know, everyone's got skin in the game at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
And, well, that's what you want.
Oh no, without a doubt. But legally, I guess, if you're talking contractually, no. You know, that nobody, that there won't be, if this ever goes to films, the royalties will always be on the comics. The more sold, then there's more, because they can always sell the artwork. All the pages, everybody has their artwork. So let's say if this becomes the Gone with the Wind, they can go back and sell each of their pages for X and X amount of money. But, and they were paid well, paid well. At the end of the day, we pay them to have a product. And now the IP is, yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah. But
so they're getting recognition. Their names are out there to show what they can do.
Yeah, right. But we've become such good friends, honestly, that they will always be part of Phenom. So you got Mel Ruby that's doing, we're actually funding one of his stories. He'll always be a part of Phenom. You've got Rob Hunter that will always be a Phenom. Ace Continuato that's doing Soul. We've got so many people, and we've become, so close, I guess, working through this, that we're trying to create a company, and a culture.
Well, like you said in the beginning, you created your own universe.
That's
and on that, and you were just talking somewhat about finances. Lisa and I are going to take a little break right now so we can pay some of our finances, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So stay tuned, everybody. Awesome. You're going to be worthwhile waiting there.
My name is Lisa Rodino. I am a commercial loan advisor and broker. Have you been finding that your business's cash flow is not where you need it to be? Have you found yourself taking from your personal accounts to meet your business's obligations? Have you found that those quick solutions of quick money are starting to get awfully expensive? My job is to find the right funding products for my clients so they can get back to working in their business and give me the task of finding the best options for their situation. Give us a call today to learn more. 516-268-0350.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to a very, very phenomenal special evening that we have tonight with one of the owners of Phenom Comics. And where are you from, by the way, Tom?
We're a little south of Chicago,
Yeah,
so
we're in Chicago,
it's easier to say
okay.
Chicago.
Well,
but,
we've been building up this frenzy, hopefully, for people to really see, instead of hearing, watching what the heck you do. So here we go. Let's go to the website next. That is so exciting. Oh my gosh, that was, I watched it at home. The effect was, much better here than it was on my little computer at home. Boy, that was sensational. The music is great.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
thank
for
you.
Is
sure.
that little no-name band that was playing back
no,
there?
no. Joe and I we have a huge catalog of songs and music artists that we really enjoy. So it kind of helps when you're trying to put little promos together. But we've worked, we've made sure that we've, I guess, got approvals and whatnot. But thank you very much.
Very
And
nice.
really, just to go on record too for everybody out there, that we did our best not to spoil. I hate when you go to the movies, you see trailers and they ruin the movie. So
Yep.
we did our best to kind of give some action, give a little feel for it. But there's no way that we ruined any aspect of the story because, and people have yelled at us about that. But we've tried our best just to kind of give a tone, but not.
Well, you yell
put
back at them,
else.
that's all.
Yeah.
That'll
Yeah.
keep them
But-
quiet.
Yeah, but with the artwork department, just like you said, the artwork kind of comes through on kind of the style
Yeah,
that
it's
we're
great.
trying to
It's
push
great.
out there.
And we got much more to show. But I think it would be a good idea. Lisa, why don't we hop to the website for Tom, and let's go over that a
Okay.
little bit and see what's
Sure.
happening there.
Well, that homepage is beautiful with the Discover Your Next Adventure with the bear there in dismay.
Thank you.
Very cool. And phenomenal stories await. So we have the books that are either there or coming soon. So we have books, The Hunter Ninja Bear, The Star Riders, and Something Fierce.
Yep. And then Icor and then Vambrace. Right.
Icor and Vambrace. So these are the books that are currently out, correct?
Is
Yes,
Vambrace
yes.
have to do with a vampire?
No, that was the Mel Ruby's story. And so we loved his artwork so much. And Mel was kind of throwing out some ideas that he had. And he kind of threw this one out. And I said, Mel, we love it, but can Joe and I take it over? Can we take it? Because we loved where he was going with it, but we wanted to write it. Because a lot of Phenom Comics, it really boils down to Joe and I want to tell our stories, that's the reason for it. And so Mel loved it. He saw what we did with Hunter Ninja Bear, and he gave us the reins, and he's taken the artwork, and it's actually, it's going to be beautiful. It's actually probably our closest to a superhero story, and it really is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal
You're going to have to
story.
come back again and then spring it on everybody.
Yeah, no, thank you.
What do we got
Definitely,
next, Lisa?
definitely. Well, I flipped over to the comic section, and we have some of the imagery of what's in his books by the looks of things. I see the Hunter Ninja Bear, Providence. We've got Something Fierce, Battle for
Evermore.
Evermore, for
And that's
Evermore.
that's a beautiful story too. It was banned loosely by an office of the Vatican. So we went to our priest to make sure we were not going to hell, and we're okay. But it's a great story, and we cannot wait for that. And all the stories are really about 12 issues. We do not release individual issues, so we put volumes all in one. So with Hunter Ninja Bear, there's 360 pages, 12 issues, 12 covers, and there, boom, you get it. Something Fierce is 400 pages. You got 12 issues altogether, the story, boom. All their stories, we're not doing these little, skinny little comics. We're doing, if you can see on the back shelf, we're talking about an inch thick a book, because what we, because it's almost like, what do you call that? Watching, when you just watch, you just get in and you just watch a Game of
The
Thrones.
trailers. Yep.
Yeah. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to just give people that. We didn't want people to wait every month. So it's really worked out for us.
Very nice. So
Yeah.
you're starting a whole new genre, you could say, in the comic book realm, because you still see the little comic books out there where you have this. This is an uppercut, it seems, for what you're doing.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back. It always goes back to that grocery store, right? And
Yeah.
Joe and I hated waiting, every month or whatever for that new story to come out. We didn't want to go grocery shopping with our mom, but that was the hook. So we thought that, especially with movies, where I don't think I've ever stopped a movie halfway through. I think there's 2 movies in my life. You just watch it. So with this, we were able to and Providence is another name for origin. So the Hunter Ninja Bear is really our origin story.
Tom, I
got
got an idea.
A lot of ninjas, a lot of bears, and we get down to the last hunter, last ninja, last bear. So Providence is our origin story for this series.
I got an idea for you for a storyline.
All right.
2 kids in the supermarket, right next to the rack. Mom's shopping.
I'm sure a lot of people have that same story, and I think a lot of people can identify.
But I haven't heard of one. You could be the first.
Hey, let's hope these take off, and then we'll start going to the secondary stories. But I like it, just as long as Joe and I can act, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, and then the other covers, the Vambrace, Befallen, Star Riders, Looking Glass.
Star Riders is our sci-fi adventure, and once again, a lot of the pictures that we put out there in the trailers, we are not giving people the fun parts of the story. Star Riders is going to blow people's minds because it's a great, where we were just talking, women in film and identities and this. And Star Riders was our attempt to strip all that away. What if there was no skin? What if there was no hair? What if there was no sex, no race, no this, everything that we know as humans? What if that didn't exist? What was in your core? So Star Riders is a very violent space odyssey, a space opera, but when you peel it back, it's really sort of our take on that. It's, that you judge a book on what's on the inside.
Tom, you mentioned something
Very
about
cool.
really not horrific, but a rough type of story this is. What ages are your stories for on kids?
We just usually say, right now with video games, I don't want to show my age, but I don't know. I mean, looking at some of these video
Yeah, they're hard.
games,
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
yeah, so we always usually say, 10 and down. The beautiful thing about the old video games or the old comics was you had an 8-year-old reading the same comic as an 80-year-old. Is that everybody read the same Superman issue? So we're trying to do the same. Is that we are not getting into topics that are
So the
sexual in nature.
Okay.
Too
Let's
violent.
do this. Let's do this if we can. You just talked about Star Riders. Let's see the trailer for Star Riders.
Great. Thank you.
Tell mom we'll be home for dinner. I love it. Mom's still the focal point for you guys.
Yeah, hey,
Mom's
what,
always
that's
in
right.
these.
Boys love their mothers.
Yep, they do.
That is so good. Like I
Oh,
said in
yeah,
the
that's
beginning of the
awesome.
show, we have never had a guest like you. We've had businesses. We've had engineers, just like you and your brother. We've had people that have come up with designs and accountants and finance people and bankers and everything. I've never had a person like you.
Oh, well, that's neat. I mean, you got to throw in some curveball for the audience, but Joe
Yeah.
and really, we've we really pride ourselves is that we've kind of done all that, kind of what you said, that we've done what we needed to do on the professional side, and just like everybody, that we just had a dream, and
Well, you're
that's
living
all.
your dream in your universe. How do you get your illustrators? The illustrations are crazy.
Well, Scott McDaniel, right there's another one, is that we brought in the best of the best, is that people who know comics know Scott McDaniel. And even on the coloring, we have, Gabe Eltab, which is huge. He is kind of moving away from DC, but then we have Lee Duhigg out of Marvel. And then we have Alex Sinclair, who did Batman Hush and all the Batman. He's easily the Mount Rushmore of colorist. So we've been very fortunate because I think when people get to know Joe and I, they realize we're just telling stories. That's it. You peel back the onion 20 million times. Joe and I are just two guys that just want to tell our stories, and we want the best. And what we've done is we've been very fortunate to just bring in the best, and we've been very lucky. But it's been word of mouth that there's really nothing more to us. Is that we're just two guys.
We started off talking about the Hunter Ninja beer. Now let's watch it. My head
Very
was
cool.
rocking from the
Thank
music.
you.
I'm
Thank
like
you.
this.
Yeah.
No,
Norman, we're not
no.
hearing you. Something happened with your speaker, sir.
With my speaker?
You're a speaker. You got to get close to your mic. It sounds
Is
like
that better?
a little bit.
No,
Yes.
probably
little
not.
better.
We have to call our rocket.
There you go. There you
There
go.
you
All right.
go.
Maybe then with people were trying to tell me to shut up. You know,
Hey, you're doing all the talking.
like I said, the music was really rocking. The graphics
had-
was sensational. That is so
Yeah.
so cool.
Thank you.
And just
Yeah,
think,
thank
you
you.
have to wake up in the morning, go back to engineering.
Yeah. Well, Joe and I, you know what, that was, really, we put all those videos together. So we kind of come through, we see what we want to do. And, Joe and I are pretty good at, the computer side too. I mean, okay. But what you can kind of see is just the tone. We're trying to drive those themes in, just the music. Music is very centric to our universe, is that
Yeah.
it really brings the emotion. It brings the texture to the theme of the story. So if you go through YouTube or Vimeo and Phenom Comics, you'll see it just we've actually pulled in some old Japanese punk rock, songs. We've done a lot of
That's a lot of
orchestral,
work. A lot of
Sounds
work.
like Coheed and Cambria
yeah.
and the Gorillas
Yeah,
kinda
no, without a
have
doubt.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
hopefully when we pull this to film, and just even if you think of the Guardians of the Galaxy, where I think that took everybody by storm, because here you got a great little sci-fi movie, but then you've got the music that we all sort of grew up on, and it really just added a whole nother layer to the film. And I think what Joe and I are doing is, with The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, you have those old Sergio songs. It's just now we're going to do our best to have that same feeling, Star Wars, with the Williams, music. That we're going to try our best to be good cinematically, but also with the scores.
That's
Very
great. Is there anything left on the website to take a look at, or did we cover that?
The last piece over there, he's got, all of his designs out. He has a list of all of his abouts for his contacts, his writers, and artists, and of course the privacy policy. And then there's a storefront too, where you can check out the collection.
Can we
and
buy
start filling your
online too?
cart.
Can we buy?
Just
What's
Hunter,
that?
just Hunter Ninja Bear for now. And we're just trying to get our products out. So it's a kind of streamlined website. We just wanted to get our ideas out there, but hopefully as the years go, we'll just become a little more
So what's the next
sophisticated.
one going to be?
Pardon?
Which is the next one that you're going to?
Star Writers. And
Star
it should have
Writers.
been out now, but what we're doing is we're doing some fine tuning. Alex Sinclair is doing the last chapter. It's a double chapter actually to finish off the series. So what we're doing is we just dump on a lot of illustrations and a lot of effects on the top of it. And it should have been out by now, but our theory is no one's ever going to say, boy, that movie came out just in time. They're going to look at it, boy, is that story or is that movie good? They don't know when it should have been out. So
Right.
we are doing our best to, when it comes out, it's exactly how we wanted it, and we're thrilled. It really, every story, and Hunter Ninja Bear is a gut-busting story. It's great. It's great on so many levels. Every story gets better, and we're very thrilled about that.
And we're thrilled to have had you here. Again, how do people
Yes.
get in touch with you?
Phenom Comics. It really, and then I guess our phone number is 518 Phenom, if you want to go that route. But it's really Phenom Comics, and there's an email. It's info@phenomcomics.com. But that's probably the best way. Just through your Instagram, you can message, Facebook, Instagram. Message, or even Twitter. But
Do you have any final words?
no, I just want to say I just want to say thank you. Norman,
it's
Lisa, thank you
a
very
pleasure.
much. This is
Thank you.
You're very
it's
welcome.
neat. Yeah, no, it's very neat to talk to your community. Just through my wife, Norman, she loves you. So it's really nice to kind of
Back at
spend
you.
some time with you.
She
Yeah.
happens, Darcy has hit it off with everyone.
Oh,
in
yes.
NRG, and how she tries to help everyone. I know she's probably watching you tonight. So, Darcy, thank you for Tom. Thank you for letting us borrow him for an hour.
Yes, definitely.
No, thank you
Yes.
guys. And no, and she probably is watching. She probably tell me not to slouch, something like that.
And don't rock. Don't rock. We get a lot of people, right, Lisa? We got a lot of people, they rock.
Yes, that can happen. No,
I've
but
tried my best. I've tried my best.
And I look forward to exploring your world and your universe with all of this. And I know my son is going to love your stuff. And he's like a
Oh,
20 something. And, that's why I know about Coheed and Cambria and the Gorillas, is because those are entertainers that he's always loved. And they have their books and their albums that are themed around the storylines. And this looks like something that is right along that line.
well, just once we, I guess, say goodbyes and whatnot, let's share mailing addresses, because what we'll do is we'll send out, books and some swag, some hats and stuff out to you guys. So we're just very,
I
Awesome.
appreciate that.
just very thankful
That's
that you
very
guys
nice.
took
It's
the time to.
unnecessary, but thank you. And
Oh,
it's
no.
interesting because our guest on Thursday is a person that could probably write about your life story. And we'll leave it at that. Your wife knows who. Actually, I don't know if he's with the group anymore, but he has left us with an indelible mark. He's really really good at what he does.
Yep.
And
He helps people get published.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And
And you got a
sorry.
story. You got a story to go and tell.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, and really published for a lot of the younger artists. That's half the battle. That's why Joe and I, we went through Penguin. We were gonna do the publishing, but they were doing all the numbers games on us, and we said forget it.
You won't have this
now-
problem with this guy. It doesn't work that way. But again,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on. We wish you really a great success in what you do, and we hope to get you come back again.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, and to everybody watching, just check out Phenom Comics, and you won't be disappointed. We are trying our best to give somebody something to smile about.
All right, well, you gave me a smile, that's for sure. And
yeah.
and I'm still rocking my head. There it goes. All right,
Because of
thanks
the
a lot, Tom.
music.
You just stay right where you are.
Okay.
Wow, what a
Yep.
phenom!
Oh yes,
What
that's
a
for sure.
phenom! Right in our universe came
Yeah.
his universe. So two universes together.
Collide.
So hopefully
Yep.
we made some magic tonight. So we thank everybody for tuning in, and come back on Thursday, where
Yeah.
a person by the name of Adam Fleming can write your
Yes.
story too. Ladies and gentlemen, good night. Thank you so
Good
much
night,
for tuning in.
everyone.
Good night.
The Business Awareness Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is brought to you by Media Stations in Bohemia, New York. Create your own media and have your own station. That's Media Stations in Bohemia, New York. 516-448-2066 or visit mediastation